Hello, Chris Green here with the Flood Insurance Guru. Today we're here in the water, and what we're talking about is we're talking about the 2020 coastal flood insurance pandemic that's happening and could happen in 2021. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So stay tuned if you live in Alabama, you even live in Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, and even Texas. We want to talk about some things you might need to be aware of. 2020 has been a really rough year. There's three things that have had major impact or could have a major impact on the private flood insurance game in coastal states. And that's a massive hurricane season, and of course social injustice across the country, and COVID. So these three things combined are having a pretty big impact on private flood insurance companies' wallets. Let's talk about COVID first of all. Of course, with everything that happened, a lot of these COVID policies are policies that covered certain things that people thought they covered for COVID impacted insurance companies in a big way because they're in a battle with the government to see if insurance companies are going to be required to cover loss of use. They're in the middle of these lawsuits and all these things. And not to mention this, but with a lot of businesses going out of business as a result of COVID, a lot of insurance companies are missing out on new revenue. Now let's talk about the social injustice. With social injustice, you've had a lot of riots across the country as things have happened. A lot of buildings being damaged. You had areas in Minnesota where parts of the city just had to be shut down. But a lot of claims came out of that from businesses being caught on fire, destroyed, damaged. So that is another contributing factor. Now let's talk about hurricane season, which might be one of the biggest. This year, so far, at the end of October, we've had 27 named storms. And we've got 5 of them hitting the state of Louisiana. Insurance companies' reserves just are not built for something like this in one season when you put these three things together. You've got 2 hurricanes that hit within 15 miles of each other in Louisiana. So a lot of companies are starting to kind of put a red flag up, even pull out of the state. We saw this in Texas after Hurricane Harvey, where a lot of private flood insurance companies just weren't doing new business there. We've already started to see it in Mississippi after all the flooding in Jackson and all these hurricanes. We're starting to see it in parts of Alabama, parts of the panhandle of Florida, like Pensacola, and areas like this, as some insurance carriers are starting to get nervous. So this is what's happening. So this could have a major impact on your flood insurance rates next year. Maybe you get a non-renewal. Maybe your private carrier decides to pull out of state. Now, it's important to remember, though, the National Flood Insurance Program is going to be there if you live in a participating community. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have all these different private options. Now, it's really important that you work with someone who can go to a private carrier if you decide to go that route and defend your risk. Now, what exactly does this mean? This means that they can show you where your risk has either been mitigated or the risk has changed, or maybe the chances of it flooding are not as high. So you might be able to get a flood product that's not really normally available out there. So it's really important to understand that. But that's what we want to talk about in this video, is how COVID, hurricane season, and social injustice combined together are creating this huge pandemic for coastal flood insurance in 2021 and 2020, and what you can see. So if you've got questions about what your flood insurance options are, what can you do to minimize your wallet, then make sure to visit our website, floodinsuranceguru.com. Remember, we have an educational background in flood mitigation, which means we can help you understand risks like this right here. Your flood insurance and mitigating your property long term to help you minimize flood losses and flood premiums. Thank you.